Look, I'm not here to impress you with fancy formulas. I'm here to tell you something simple, and I want you to take it seriously. The first $100,000 is the hardest money you'll ever make. After that, the wind finally starts to blow at your back. Most people never feel that tailwind because they quit before they get to the part where compounding becomes obvious. So today, we're going to talk like old friends. I'll give you a clear target, a plain plan, and a few rules that keep you from doing dumb things that destroy compounding. Let's start with the target, because a target changes behavior. $100,000, not someday money, a real number you can see. And I want you to attach a clock to it. If you're starting from zero, what does it take? Rough math. Save and invest $833 a month, and you'll put in almost $10,000 a year. If you earn a sensible return over a decade, you'll cross that line. If you can push to $1,000 a month, you'll likely get there faster. That's not magic. That's arithmetic plus discipline. Now, people always ask, what's the trick? There isn't one. There are 3 levers, and you already know them. Earn more, spend less, and let compounding do its job. Most people fiddle endlessly with investments because it feels clever. The real advantage comes from the boring edges, saving reliably, avoiding stupid taxes and fees, and leaving your money alone. You don't need to be a genius. You need to be consistently not stupid. Let me give you a mindset I've used all my life. Inversion. Instead of asking, how do I get rich? Ask, how do I avoid staying poor? Well, staying poor is helped along by high-interest debt, overpaying for status, trading in and out of investments, and pretending you're smarter than the market. So invert your habits. Cut high-interest debt until it's dead. Buy usefulness, not social theater. Own broad, low-cost assets and hold them for a long time. Admit what you don't know and avoid arenas that reward overconfidence. Before we talk about where to put money, we need to clean up where it leaks. If you're trying to fill a bucket with holes, the first job isn't to pour faster, it's to patch the holes. Here are the big leaks. 1. High-interest debt. If you're paying 20% on a credit card, your first investment is to destroy that balance. You will not outinvest a hole that deep. 2. Fees and friction. Advisory fees at 1 to 2% and expense ratios on funds that are too high. They look small, but over decades they take a big bite out of your pie. 3. Lifestyle creep. If every raise triggers a bigger car, bigger house, and bigger monthly obligations, you've trapped yourself in a treadmill. You're working for appearances, not compounding. The opposite of leaks is automation. If you force yourself to decide every month whether to invest, you'll invent reasons not to. So you build a system that doesn't ask your permission when you're tired, stressed, or tempted. Direct deposit into an investment account the day you get paid. This is simple, but it's the backbone. If you aim for $833 a month and you only hit $600 some months, fine. Keep moving. Small, consistent deposits are more powerful than heroic, irregular stunts. Now let's be practical and talk earn more versus spend less. People like to pick one because it matches their personality. You want both. If you can negotiate a raise, add a weekend side gig, or build a small skill that commands a higher hourly rate, that's excellent. Every extra dollar you earn past your fixed costs turns into fuel for the compounding machine. Simultaneously, identify 2 expenses you can reduce without lowering your quality of life. Focus on the recurring ones: insurance, phone, subscriptions. dining out routines. The recurring ones are like barnacles on a ship. Scrape them off and you speed up. What about investing? For your first $100,000, you want simplicity you can stick with. A low-cost, widely diversified stock index fund is perfectly adequate for most people. If you don't understand an investment in a couple of paragraphs, skip it. You're not building a trophy case. You're building a base. Later, after you have the base and a temperament that can handle volatility, you can choose to add smart pieces. But first, the base. Broad, low-cost exposure held for a long time. And don't forget a cash buffer. Emergencies happen on their own schedule, not yours. A modest emergency fund prevents you from selling investments at bad times. Let's address volatility, because it's where people lose their nerve. Markets go up and down. If you buy broad ownership of productive businesses, you've bought a share in human ingenuity. Over long periods, that's tended to be rewarded, but in the short term, it can feel like being on a boat in rough water. The correct reaction, if your plan is sound, is boredom. You don't attend to the waves. You mind the compass. The compass is your automatic contributions, your spending discipline, and your refusal to interrupt compounding. Here's a good principle. Don't interrupt compounding unnecessarily. Money is like a snowball. It needs cold, long slopes. If every time your pile grows, you rate it to reward yourself for being good, you're stealing from your future. I'm not saying you must live like a monk. I'm telling you to tie your little rewards to milestones so you don't sabotage the main objective. Hit $25,000. Fine, take a modest celebration. Hit $50,000? Another. But don't take your eye off the $100,000. You'll be amazed how your behavior changes when you attach celebrations to real progress instead of impulses. People also get stuck on timing. Should I wait to invest until things calm down? Things are rarely calm. Waiting for perfect conditions is procrastination in a tie. If your dollar cost averaging into broad markets, the calendar handles timing for you. That's not complicated. That's deliberately unclever, and unclever is often what works. Let's do a little exercise I like, the opportunity cost test. Take something you buy regularly. Say it's a $200 monthly habit. Ask, if I put this $200 into a low-cost index fund every month for a decade, what could it be? You won't get a perfect number. You'll get an attitude. And that attitude is the one that notices the price tag includes a future you're giving up. Once you see purchases that way, you stop being casual with them. Another tool? The checklist. Humans are overconfident. Checklists cut through that. Before you buy an investment or change your plan, ask, do I understand it in plain English? What's the total cost? Fees, taxes, trading friction. What would make this fail? Am I reacting to envy, fear, or boredom? If this goes down 30% next year, will I still hold it? If you can't answer with clarity, pass. There are no called strikes in investing. You can look at thousands of pitches and only swing at the ones you understand. Let me talk about temperament, because temperament beats IQ in personal finance. Can you be patient? Can you be modest about what you know? Can you hold a sensible course while your neighbor brags about speculation? Envy is a tax you pay to strangers. It's expensive, and it compounds in the wrong direction. If you learn to ignore it, you'll do better than most. Now, I'll give you a 90-day plan to make this real. You can start today. Days 1 to 7. Patch the holes and automate. List your debts by interest rate. Anything double-digit becomes a top priority. Build a tiny emergency buffer. $1,000 is plenty to start. Put it somewhere you won't touch for fun. Set up automatic transfers. Pick your number. $833 is the ambitious version. $500 is fine, if that's what you can do. The key is automatic. Pick one low-cost, broad index fund as your default and start buying on a schedule. Days 8 to 30. Raise your savings rate without hating your life. Negotiate two bills. Insurance and phone are good candidates. Even $20 a month matters when you multiply it by time. Kill one recurring subscription you won't miss in a week. Add one small income lever, overtime, freelance, or a weekend gig that's tolerable. You don't have to love it, you just have to bank it. Every extra dollar goes to the $100,000 engine. Days 31 to 60, make your environment do the work. Put your investment app on page 2 of your phone and disable notifications. You're not a day trader. Create milestone markers at $10,000, $25,000, $50,000, $75,000, and $100,000. Print them and put them somewhere you'll see. Tell one friend your plan. Not the loud, opinionated one who loves drama. Someone steady who respects commitments. Quiet accountability works. Days 61 to 90. Review, don't reinvent. Check that your auto transfers happened. If you missed a month, forgive yourself and resume immediately. Perfection is fake. Consistency is real. Skim your spending for leaks that grew back. Barnacles love a good haul. Scrape again. Take a walk, read a book, and avoid financial television. Your investment results will improve if you lower the entertainment value attached to them. Now, a word on taxes. You don't have to be a scholar to be efficient. Use tax-advantaged accounts when available. If your employer matches retirement contributions, don't turn down free money. If you have a choice between holding a tax-inefficient thing in a taxable account and a tax-efficient thing, pick the efficient one. This is common sense disguised as strategy. I also want to remind you of circle of competence. People get seduced by specialized assets they don't understand because the story sounds exciting. Stay inside the circle where your understanding lives. If you're going to own something narrower than the broad market, do it with humility and small position sizes. But until you cross $100,000, don't burn time trying to prove you're clever. Put your cleverness into your career, your health, and your relationships. Things that actually increase your earning power and decrease your need to impress. Let's talk motivation, because compounding is slow and slow is hard in a world trained to chase quick. The way you stay motivated is to make progress visible. Track your net worth once a month. No more. Watching it daily is like watching paint dry and then blaming the paint for your boredom. Monthly is enough to notice improvements and small enough to avoid obsessing. Reward the behavior, not just the outcomes. Did you keep your saving rate this month? Good. That's what matters. And remember, don't compare your Chapter 2 to someone else's Chapter 20. You don't know their risks, their leverage, or their luck. You're building a life that works under your constraints with your temperament. That's the work. The market will do what it does. Your job is to control the controllables: savings rate, fees, taxes, time in the market, and avoiding big mistakes. When will you feel the tailwind? Strangely, not at $100,000 exactly. You'll feel it when your investments start growing more in a year than you could save by sheer effort. That's the moment you realize the machine is finally helping. But you don't get that moment without a long stretch of dull persistence. Dull is good. Dull works. Let me close with a few rules. Write them down if you like. 1. Take a simple idea and take it seriously. The first $100,000 is that idea. 2. Avoid stupidity before seeking brilliance. Kill high-interest debt, cut fees, automate savings. 3. Stay within your circle. If you can't explain it simply, you don't own it. 4. Don't interrupt compounding. Automate, ignore noise, and let time do the heavy lifting. 5. Make progress visible and boring. Monthly check-ins, milestone markers, quiet accountability. If you follow those rules, you'll cross the first $100,000. Once you do, you'll finally see why people like me keep talking about compounding as if it's a friend. It is a friend, silent, patient, and very selective about who it helps. It helps the persistent. So here's your assignment. When this podcast ends, open your accounts, set the automatic transfer for the next paycheck, pick the broad, low-cost fund, and get the first contribution in. Then tape a piece of paper to your fridge. $100,000. I'm on my way. Every month, write the new number. When you hit your first milestone, allow yourself a small celebration, and then go back to doing the boring things that work. That's it. No genius required. Just steady hands, a little humility, and time.